Hey everybody, Miss Lottie Daw here, and I opened my book to get ready to read to you day 17, and look at this cat. He thinks that he's just king, and everyone pay attention to Morris. I know everybody's cat does this though, but he does it all the time. Okay, I'm going to attempt to read this. If Morris doesn't interrupt, which he probably will. And this is day 17 of the 40-day Living True 40 Days to Get Back to You challenge. It's written by Christy Wright. And you can find more books by her and some other inspiration from her at her website, christywright.com. But let's dive right in to day 17. You were chosen. You did not choose me, but I chose you, and appointed you that you would go and bear fruit, and that your fruit would remain, so that whatever you ask of the Father in my name, he may give to you. John 15:16. My favorite thing to play growing up was kickball. Whether we were playing during middle school recess or in someone's backyard on the weekend, I loved the game. However, getting ready to play also stirred up a tormenting fear I had. Please, please, please don't let me get picked last. It's the worst feeling, isn't it? Whether it's for a kickball game, a class project in college, or just grouping up in a team-building activity at work or church, everyone has this deep-seated fear of not being chosen. It's the feeling of walking into the school lunchroom with a tray in your hands, your eyes scanning the cafeteria, looking for a familiar face, a spot to sit, a place to belong. We all have this deep need to be chosen. The good news is, we already are. We are chosen by the God of the universe. He had a choice, and he saw you and thought, look at her. I want that one. She's mine. I love how the story of Esther in the Bible illustrates this. Esther was a Jewish orphan, raised by her cousin Mordecai, when her father and mother died. When King Xerxes put out a year-long search for a new queen, Esther was among the many women pampered and prepped to be considered. Esther didn't reveal her Jewish background during this process, likely because it could have disqualified her or even put her in danger due to the strong anti-Jewish sentiment in the palace. Despite the many women the king saw, he chose Esther to be his queen. But that's not even the amazing part of the story. The really cool part is that God was choosing Esther to save her people. She just didn't know it yet. While she was queen, Esther's uncle Mordecai made the king's new advisor so angry, he wanted Mordecai and all of the Jewish people killed to pay for the offense. Mordecai was devastated and terrified. He sent a message to Esther pleading with her to go into the king's presence to beg for mercy and plead with him for her people. Esther 4:8. The only problem was there was a law that you would be put to death for going to the king without being summoned, even if you were the queen. Esther hadn't been summoned by the king and didn't know what to do. Mordecai pressed on with one of the most famous verses from the entire book of Esther. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place. But you and your relatives will die. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for just such a time as this? Esther 4:14. Esther rises to the challenge, risks her life, and boldly goes before the king. She saves the entire Jewish people and becomes a hero. She was chosen by the king to be his queen, chosen by Mordecai to help her people, chosen by God for such a time as this. And so were you. You have been chosen. God chose you for a relationship with him. He chose you for the family you have, the life that you lead, and the plans He has for you, plans you may not even know yet. This means you don't have to worry about being picked last on the kickball team or not having a seat at the lunchroom table. You don't have to live in fear of being left out because you've already been chosen by a God who loves you very much. Reflection and prayer. What fears do you have about being rejected? Have you ever had an experience where you were picked last and left out? How did that make you feel? How does it change your perspective about your value and worth to God when you realize He had a choice and He chose you? Spend some time in prayer today, asking God to show you what it means to live as His chosen child. All right, that's going to do it for day 17 today. Thank you for following along with me. And sorry, I had to chuckle because look at this guy. I think the sound of my voice, especially me reading, just really calms him. And he's my baby, so. All right, this is Miss Lottie Da saying ta-ta.